It's so simple. Think about how many people you know who've tried to get into shape and failed. Think about how many of your friends or family members have started new training programs or new weight loss regimes. Either they're trying to build big muscle or they're interested in losing fat. Either way, they've come to you all excited about their new goals and they show you their program. Often it will involve training 5 days a week at a gym, perhaps for an hour at a time. At the same time, this new training program is going to involve eating 500 fewer calories. How can it possibly fail? Well, I'll tell you how it fails. In fact, I'll tell you how it fails nearly every single time. The problem isn't that the training program isn't good. The problem is they don't stick at it. They have this exciting aim and they're all ready to get going with it, but by week 2, they're already losing motivation. Something important comes up and they have to take a day out of training. Either that or they just get home from work and they're so tired that they have to skip a session. Then they get a cold and that means another week off. And their friends are eating out and they're invited, so they head out to that and they consume 1,500 calories in one sitting. So far, so bad. By the end of week 3, they're now back at the position they were in to begin with, and they've made no progress on their diet or their training. This is disheartening, and it's also somewhat embarrassing when people ask them how their fitness is going. So they just kind of brush it to one side, and then they pretend it never happened. Until the next program comes along, that is. Now, you're probably very familiar with this story, and in fact, it's probably a story that you've lived yourself a lot of times. The problem is, these training programs are just too ambitious. Taking on a new training program like this takes an incredible amount of dedication and energy. Think about it. Right now, you probably feel like you don't have much time in your life. You probably feel rushed off your feet and you probably have very little energy when you get back in the evenings. This is why you're currently out of shape. It's not for lack of interest or for lack of trying. If it were easy to get into incredible shape, then you'd have done it already. Truth is that life is hard and most of us are struggling just to keep afloat. Here's a quick newsflash, by the way. Time isn't the problem. All of us think that we have a problem with time, but this is almost always untrue. Very often we think we don't have time and that's why we don't get everything done. But if that's true, how come you're able to watch that entire box set of Game of Thrones recently? How come you spent all of last night just lying in front of the television? How come you were able to hit snooze 3 times on your alarm? The problem isn't time, it's energy. Energy is finite, and there's only so much stress and so much work or activity that we can cram into one day before that finite energy begins to run dry. If you're already at your wit's end, if you're already exhausted and stressed, then what makes you think that you can add a workout to the end of your day that's an hour long? And what makes you think that you can drive to the gym to do your workout, and then back, and then shower? There are more things about going to the gym that we don't take into account too. For instance, the cost, and then there's the cold weather. And here's one, all that extra washing. If you go to the gym 5 days a week, then you'll be creating 5 more pairs of dirty underwear and you'll need to wash all those jogging bottoms and tank tops. And you expect to do all this when you already have no energy and you intend to eat fewer calories, giving yourself even less energy? And you wonder why so many training programs fail? I want to demonstrate the power of body weight training to you right away, and that's why I'm starting with this simple workout. It's called the SSE workout because it's super simple and effective. This is a workout that addresses all of the issues that we saw in the last video, and then some. It's a workout that takes 10 to 15 minutes. All you need is a pull-up bar, or a tree branch, and you're going to do it in the morning before you shower. The workout is a circuit. That means you'll go through each exercise once and then you're going to start again from the beginning. You're going to rest for 30 seconds between each completed set, and you're going to perform each set of moves for 30 seconds. The exercises are push-ups, pull-ups, and jack-in-the-box. So the workout looks like this: 30 seconds of push-ups, 30 seconds of pull-ups, 30 seconds of jack-in-the-box, 30 seconds of rest. Then you repeat it 5 times. Make sure that you're doing as many repetitions of each exercise as you can and that you're giving it your all. Also, you need to ensure that you aren't resting at all when you move from one to the next. It doesn't matter how many press-ups and pull-ups you do. All that matters is that you keep going until the end of the 30 seconds, or at least keep trying. If you can't do push-ups, then you can do push-ups on your knees to begin with. And if you can't do pull-ups, or you can't do enough, then you're going to do assisted pull-ups. Assisted pull-ups means that you're going to take a chair and put it underneath the pull-up bar. You can then put your feet on the chair and use them to slightly help yourself through each pull-up. Now, don't cheat and just stand up. Just give yourself the slightest bit of help with your legs so that you can complete each exercise. Remember as well that pull-ups are the ones where you use an overhand or pronated grip. And that means that your palms are facing away from you. And this way, you'll also be engaging your lats more in exercise rather than your biceps. Finally, when performing the jack-in-the-box, you need to squat all the way down and crouch. Then you're exploding upwards and splaying your arms and legs like a starfish. It's like a squat combined with a star jump. If you can't do this, then just tuck jumps will be fine to begin with. And that's the whole workout. Like I said, it's simple, but it's also really effective. And you're going to do it 5 days a week before you start work. Oh, and one more tip. Don't do it immediately upon waking. Wait at least 10 minutes, as that way your spine won't be soft from sleeping and you'll reduce the chances of injury. This is pretty light stuff though, so you should find that you're fine to go into it without a warm-up. So, what's so special about this workout? Well, the first thing is that it has everything you need in it. The workout has 3 components: push, pull, and legs. Each exercise is also compound, and that way you're actually targeting nearly every muscle in the body. So, press-ups are targeting your pecs, triceps, shoulders, traps, and abs. Pull-ups are targeting the lats, biceps, and abs. And jack-in-the-box is targeting quads, hamstrings, calves, and glutes. You're also going fast, and all of these exercises are enough to get your heart racing. That means that if you go as intense as you can easily stand to burn around 150 calories from this alone. At the start of your day, that's an excellent way to begin, and it means that you can slip up and eat a Kit Kat without it mattering much. By the way, that also adds up to 750 calories by the end of the week. And because you're training at the start of the day, before you have your breakfast, this counts as fasted cardio. For those who don't know, this basically means that you're performing cardiovascular exercise at a point where there's no glucose in your blood. That in turn means that the body will burn fat rather than sugar, and you'll lose more weight as a result. Then there's the fact that these moves are actually quite tough in terms of muscle work. You can easily start to notice your biceps, your pecs, and your abs strengthen from this alone. Press-ups are actually surprisingly good for your abs. Not only because you're training fast enough to burn calories, but because you'll be using your transverse abdominis. Now, this is the abdominal muscle that wraps around your body like a weight belt in order to hold your stomach in. And this will make your abs look much flatter, and it's what's missing from a lot of training programs. Better yet, this is also super convenient. No matter how much of a rush you're in or how tired you are, almost everyone can afford to get up 10 minutes earlier and do 10 minutes of exercise. You need to be strict with yourself here. Never go over the 10 minutes. This defies the object and means that you'll end up putting it off. You're doing just 10 minutes, but it's enough to build more strength, more energy, and more lean muscle mass. The other big advantage is that you're doing this before your shower, and you can wear the clothes that you slept in. Just some underwear will be fine, even because you're training in the comfort of your own home. So, a pair of boxer shorts or panties, and you can perform your press ups, pull ups, and then you can jump straight into the shower. Now, you aren't having an extra shower that takes up time, and you don't have any more clothes to wash. This is a 10-minute workout that really is only 10 minutes long. And this is something everyone can afford to add to their regime, and it's enough to help you lose more weight, build more muscle, and generally get a lot stronger and fitter. If you already work out regularly, even if you're an athlete or a bodybuilder, then just adding this little bit of extra training at the start of your day will be enough to help you through patches where you miss workouts and to ensure that you get a little bit more exercise throughout the day. Simply put, the SSE workout is the solution to all of your training problems, so add it to your regime. Now you have something to start doing right away, so start doing it. Don't wait until you've seen the rest of these videos. Don't wait until you've spoken with a personal trainer. All that really matters is that you start doing something. You'll learn more as we go through the videos, but in the meantime, just start doing that one thing and start making progress. As you get a little bit more advanced, you might start to find that the SSC workout is a little too simplistic, or maybe you want to adapt it to be a little more total body. In that case, you can do so by simply adding some extra moves to your regime and swapping them in and out. So, for example, you could do dips, and you can do this with two chairs opposite one another. Tricep dips, chin ups, incline press ups. Just make sure that you have one compound push movement, one pull, and one exercise for the legs. Using the SSE workout, you can start getting fitter and burning fat or building muscle right away. But what if you want to become the next Arnold Schwarzenegger? What if you want to become incredibly bulky, ripped, and hench? In that case, you might think that your only option is to start lifting weights, but you would be wrong. In fact, there are a number of ways that you can build big muscle using body weight alone, and it's probably a lot easier than you suspect. In this video, we're going to be looking at how building muscle works, and we're going to look at how you can do it using body weight. This is all about theory. Towards the end of the series, we'll be looking at individual body weight moves that you can use and providing a kind of glossary of exercises for you to dip in and out of. So watch this and apply it to those moves. Although, to be honest, you can do most of this with just the regular few body weight exercises that you probably already know. So let's take a look at how to build muscle. Muscle growth in response to training is technically known as hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is what bodybuilding is all about, and if you're trying to look big and bulky, it's what you need to be all about as well. So the question is, how does hypertrophy work? How can you stimulate your body to produce more muscle? And the answer is that you need to provide the body with volume. Volume is what defines the intensity of your training, and it can come either from increasing the weight or from increasing the number of repetitions, or both. This triggers changes in the muscle which causes it to grow, and it's widely believed that there are two different mechanisms through which this can occur: sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and myofibrillar hypertrophy. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is the kind of hypertrophy that is caused when you increase the number of repetitions. This is the kind of muscle growth that you get when you train with rep ranges of around 12 to 15 or even higher. It's also increased when you increase your time under tension, which is the amount of time that you spend actually straining under the weight, rather than setting it down to rest between sets. When you increase the number of repetitions you perform and when you hold the weight in position, you're calling on your muscles' endurance. This in turn relies on the amount of fluid and the amount of energy, otherwise known as ATP, stored in the muscle cells, the sarcoplasm. When you use this kind of training, it means that the muscle is constantly tensed and working. In turn, this causes the blood to occlude. In other words, it gets sent to the muscle and it stays there. This is also what causes us to get the feeling of pump when we're working out. As this happens, you also get a buildup of metabolites. These are muscle building products that are found in the blood and that you end up flooding your muscles. Now, metabolites include the likes of testosterone, growth hormone, and IGF-1. You also get a lot of nutrients in here. As a result, the muscle responds by growing and specifically by swelling and taking on more water mass. This gives the muscles a bigger, bloated look. They may be quite soft, but it's a great way to get big fast and to increase your ability to perform large sets of exercise. Okay, let's talk about myofibrillar hypertrophy. Because another thing that occurs as you train is that you create tiny tears in the muscle fiber. These are called micro tears, and they're so small as to not be damaging in any way or to be all that painful, although this can lead to DOMS the next day, which is delayed onset muscle soreness. What these micro tears can do, though, is to cause the muscle to appear damaged to the body, and that means it needs to get repaired. When you're resting later on, the body will use protein from your diet in order to rebuild the muscle, and each of those muscle fibers will come back slightly thicker and slightly stronger than before. This increases size and strength, and the best way to trigger this kind of hypertrophy is by training with heavy weights. And this is how power lifters will train, and it's how they manage to get very strong lifting a weight only a few times. What you also need to know about is the different types of muscle fiber. Your muscles have a number of different kinds of muscle fibers that make them up, and each has a slightly different role. In general, though, we can split these muscle fibers into two categories, which are fast twitch and slow twitch. Fast twitch fibers are capable of creating greater acceleration and greater force, and that means that they are the most useful kinds for lifting heavy weights. Your body will use these first when you start to move a heavy weight, and once they become fatigued or torn, it will move on to the slower twitch fibers. Eventually, you don't have enough power to move the weight, but some slow twitch fibers will remain, meaning you're still able to move your arms. There's something else that occurs here too, and that's that you're also strengthening your mind muscle connection. This is the ability of your brain to actually use the muscle you've got in order to exert force, and the more you train, the greater that ability becomes. Each time you contract a muscle, you do so by sending signals from your brain through your central nervous system. When that signal reaches the end of the nerve, acetylcholine is released across the neuromuscular junction, and this causes the muscle cells to fire. As you do this repeatedly, you're actually able to increase the number of nuclei in your muscle cells, called myonuclei, which means that more of your muscle fibers can fire in response to that signal. This also contributes to extra muscle growth because the number of nuclei is directly related to protein synthesis, the ability of the muscles to use the protein in your diet to build muscle. There was a lot of science to take on board in that last video, but don't worry if you didn't follow it all. All you really need to know is that lifting weights creates tears in the muscle fiber and builds up the amount of fluids in the muscle cells, and that both these processes contribute to muscle growth and strength. Both of these processes also hurt slightly. No matter what anyone tells you, and some people try to deny this, working out to build muscle should be uncomfortable. It's a very specific type of pain, and you shouldn't push it too far. But building up lactic acid, which accumulates along with the metabolites, and tearing the muscle both cause the muscle to burn during your training and the next day. Ask any bodybuilder or athlete, and they'll say the same thing. No pain, no gain. Now, the trouble we face is going to be trying to get the muscle to grow using your own body weight. If you're training with weights, this is easy. All you have to do is add an extra 10 kilograms to your bar and you've made it more difficult. But if you're training with your body, then things get significantly harder. Once you can do 100 press ups, how can you make it more difficult? Well, fortunately, there are a number of tricks and methods we can use. The good news is that your body doesn't care whether you're lifting a heavy weight or not. As far as your body is concerned, the amount of force is all that matters. So we can keep the weight the same, our bodies, as long as we increase the amount of force we're using. One way to make training more difficult is simply to change the angle of the exercise. This is called extending the lever arm, which basically means that we're moving the weight, our body, further away from the point where we're applying force. This makes the exercise more difficult because the amount of force generated has to be greater. The easiest way to demonstrate this is by doing a press up. Get into push up position as you normally would do, but now instead of performing a press up like that, you're going to move your arms down slightly so that they're level with the bottoms of your pecs, and you're going to turn your hands to face slightly outward. What you have just done is to extend the lever. Now you're lifting more weight because your body is hanging over the top and the force needs to travel further along your arms and at an angle. Although the amount of weight hasn't changed, the amount of force has. And this is called a Maltese press up, by the way. As far as your muscle fiber is concerned, acceleration and strength are the same things. In other words, to contract your muscle quickly is exactly the same thing as to contract your muscle hard. This means we can now use something called plyometrics in order to train the same explosive, fast twitch muscle fibers as we would with a heavy weight. The perfect example? Well, clapping press ups. Simply perform press ups as normal, but launch yourself up into the air as high as you can and clap once or twice. In doing this, you're still performing press ups with the same amount of weight, but now you're launching yourself into the air through the sheer acceleration. You'll find you fatigue a lot more quickly as a result. Want to quickly double the amount of weight that you're using to lift yourself during a pull-up? Well, the very simple solution is to remove one arm from the bar. This way, you're now lifting the same amount of weight, but with just one bicep, one lat, and one side of your body. The same applies for press-ups and tricep dips and numerous other types of exercise. At this point, you're probably wondering how you ever get to the point where you can perform pull ups with one hand. And the simple answer is to transition gradually. In other words, you can start by putting 70% of your weight on one hand and 30% on the other. This requires you to manipulate the amount of force you exert on each side too, and in doing that, you're improving your mind-muscle connection and also your agility and body control. Very cool. So perform a pull-up leaning slightly more to one side, then move more towards the other side on the next rep and continue to alternate like that. This way, you're going to be able to gradually build up the strength to lift yourself entirely with just one side eventually. As you can see then, there are plenty of ways you can make body weight training hard. Can you do a handstand push-up with one hand yet? Can you hold planche? Now that's arms on the Maltese push-up position, legs hovering behind you. If not, then you haven't exhausted all the possibilities with bodyweight training yet. The problem is that a lot of people just don't apply these techniques right when doing bodyweight training to try and build muscle. They do 30 press-ups 3 times and then they call it a day for pecs. Either that or they have a weak attempt at a Maltese push-up or at a one-handed pull-up and then they give up. But remember, to accomplish the very most growth, you need to increase volume, and that means the amount of repetitions and the amount of weight. And you need to find ways to push yourself past failure. If you stop before you're forced to, then you won't cause those micro tears and you won't trigger that much growth. And this is where we can turn to bodybuilders for inspiration. They will combine a number of different exercises in unique ways in order to push past failure and increase their volume and their time under tension. These techniques are referred to as intensity techniques or the Joe Wider principles. They include things like drop sets, which involve lowering the weight each time you reach failure and then doing more reps. They also include supersets, switching quickly from one move to the next. Giant sets, performing huge combinations of different exercises with no rest in between. Burns, performing as much of the movement as they can once their muscles have tired out and given up. Rest pause, stopping halfway through the movement so that they aren't able to rely on momentum to help them through. Pre-exhaust, that's exhausting one muscle group before an exercise so that the other muscles have to work on their own. Cheats, which is cheating through the move so that they can do a couple more reps, and more. This is how you need to start thinking about your body weight training if you want to trigger maximum muscle growth. This means that you just don't do 3 sets of 10 all the time. Instead, you might use something called a mechanical drop set, which means that you make the weight lighter each time you fail, but changing your position. For instance, you could do clapping press-ups to failure, normal press-ups to failure, press-ups on your knees to failure, or one-handed pull-ups to failure, two-handed pull-ups to failure, assisted pull-ups to failure. Now you're fatiguing the fast twitch muscle fibers multiple times during the movement, and you're pushing yourself far past failure. You've increased the weight, the time under tension, and more, and you should feel this start to burn the muscle. Really focus on that. Listen to your body and try to feel how your muscles are responding. Can you feel the pump and burn? Are you getting the same kind of workout from this training as you would do by lifting heavy weights in the gym? If it doesn't feel hard enough, then you need to go back to the drawing board and start making it harder. You can even use burns at the end of these sequences. So once you've done as many pull-ups as you can, simply hang and perform as much of the movement as you can and feel the muscle burning as you do. Who said body weight workouts had to be easy? Note that for this kind of intense training, you should avoid training the same muscle groups more than once a week. This isn't like the SSE workout because it's too much to do every body part like this every day. Instead, split your workouts into 3 separate days. So on one day you do push, that's press-ups, dips, shoulder press. Second day, pull-ups, biceps, chin-ups. Third day, legs, squats, lunges, calf rises. Use multiple exercises that are similar and repeatedly push each muscle group to failure. You can perform PPL once or twice a week and then just make sure to rest well and eat lots of protein during your off days. Not everyone watching these videos is going to want to build big muscle, and creating intense workout splits certainly isn't for everybody. A lot of you are just going to want to improve your health, burn some fat, and feel a bit stronger. In that case, you can start seeing amazing benefits just simply by using the SSE workout that we looked at earlier in the series. As you progress, though, you may want to make this more challenging for yourself and spend a bit more than 10 minutes in the morning to build some real strength and burn some real fat. People who want to burn fat and lose weight will often mistakenly assume they can't really achieve that using weights or body weight training. And this is why you'll find the majority of weight loss programs tend to revolve around cardio and aerobic exercises such as running, cycling, or skipping rope. Now, don't get me wrong, this is an effective way to burn fat. It's just that body weight training is better. Trust me. There are many reasons for this. The first is that body weight training, when performed in the right way, actually involves more energy than running. That's because you can use all of your limbs. Try performing burpees for 30 seconds and then see how you feel. It's just as energetic as running, and you're burning just as many calories. And contracting at the same time only makes this even more insanely tough. This is what's known as resistance cardio, and it's one of the very best ways to burn fat quickly. At the same time, performing things like burpees is also using a lot of muscle. You'll be using all of your leg muscles, your triceps, your pecs, your shoulders, and so on. And when you do this, you trigger the release of growth hormone and testosterone. These are anabolic hormones that cause you to build muscle and burn more fat. And what's more, simply having more muscle will also help you to burn more fat. If you have big biceps and pecs, then your body needs to fuel them, and that means that you'll burn through lots more calories, even while you're sleeping. There's also the fact that toning muscle at the same time as burning fat leads to a much better physique. A lot of people want to get rid of cellulite, for instance. Guess what? The best way to get rid of cellulite is not to burn fat, but rather to build muscle underneath and thereby tone up the flesh and make everything look smoother. Toning muscle also gives you the proportions you want. If you're a woman, then type in girls who squat at Google Images. You'll see that women who squat are famous for having great buttocks. You can do the exact same thing with tuck jumps, but you'll be burning more fat at the same time. So, how do you put this into practice? Well, fortunately, it's pretty easy. This time we do want to focus on whole body workouts. Doing that will enable us to burn more calories and to trigger the release of more hormones at once. And we're not going to be fatiguing the muscles to the same degree, so there's no reason we can't train the same area a few times in a row. Circuits lend themselves perfectly to this, and now all you're going to do is to make sure that you perform each station with high intensity. That means you're going to pump out as many repetitions as you can and move straight from one station to the next. Time yourself and try to beat your high score each time you do the workout. You can also throw in a few cardio moves and then just make sure that the last station gives you a decent amount of time to rest and recover before you start again. Here's what an example might look like: 30 seconds of pull-ups, 30 seconds clapping push-ups, 30 seconds tricep dips, 30 seconds tuck jumps, 30 seconds chin-ups, 30 seconds jumping lunges, 30 seconds incline push-ups, and 30 seconds rest. Just repeat this 5 times for a 20-minute workout. You can replace the moves for things that are harder or easier depending on your ability. Just make sure that you're going full throttle, assuming you're in good health of course, and that you hit each muscle group in the body. You can use this workout 3 to 5 times a week and you'll find that it's more than enough to really start toning up. And if you're looking for something a little more guided that will talk you through the movements, you can always try something like the Insanity workout. They're actually very good. I wouldn't though. Why? Because you can get tons of free videos on YouTube and free apps that do the exact same thing. Think the circuit in the last video is too easy? Then let's up the ante a little. HIIT stands for High Intensity Interval Training and is a very popular form of training right now for people looking to lose weight. The basic idea of this kind of training is that you're alternating between periods of extreme exertion and gentle recovery. So, for example, you might sprint for 30 seconds and then jog for 2 minutes and then repeat. This works because it allows you to switch between aerobic and anaerobic training. Aerobic training means that you are running at a speed that allows you to burn fat stores by breathing in more oxygen and circulating it. This occurs when you exert yourself at 70% of your maximum heart rate. Conversely, Anaerobic training occurs when you train at 90% of your maximum heart rate. At this point, you are exercising far too quickly in order to burn fat, so you burn sugar in the blood instead. When you do this, it means that you use up all that available sugar, and from that point onwards, your body can only use fat stores. It also means that you carry on burning fat throughout the rest of the day as you have lower blood sugar. There's more to this as well. HIIT allows you to exert yourself more in a shorter time frame, thereby making the form of exercise much more practical and meaning that you're more likely to squeeze it into a busy schedule and to get more benefit from it. Of course, this can be applied to body weight training, which is already more effective than just cardio, it's resistance cardio, and which also triggers an anabolic response. This is the perfect storm for weight loss, and it need only take you 4 minutes a day. The Tabata protocol is one of the best techniques available for utilizing HIIT, and it takes just 4 minutes. The idea is simple: 30 seconds of exercise, 30 seconds of rest, and you repeat this 8 times. Sounds easy, but it's absolutely brutal by the end as long as you're training with full intensity. Good examples of things you can do include tuck jumps, press ups, pull ups. This is not easy at all, though, or clapping push ups. As you progress, you can also use the Tabata protocol in conjunction with active recovery. Now, that means instead of resting for 30 seconds, you're now going to hold plank or do sit ups or some form of light bodyweight training. Now, don't try this until you've been doing SSE for a while or regular circuits. When you first try it, only do it for 2 minutes. This is hard as nails, but it really does get results. If all you're really interested in is improving your strength, then you don't need to do Tabata, and you might not want to do intense workouts that trigger maximum hypertrophy either. In this case, what you can focus on instead is progressions. This means progressing from a relatively easy exercise all the way up to a much harder one. You can use full body for this, and you might start with a basic workout that lets you hit each body part a few times. So press ups 3 times to failure, pull ups 3 times to failure, plank for a minute, sit ups 3 times to failure, decline press ups 3 times to failure, tuck jumps 3 times for 1 minute, body weight squats 3 repeats of 20, calf rises 3 repeats of 20, and perform this 3 times a week. Then, once you start being able to do these lots of times, you can begin to increase the challenge. Instead of doing press ups, you may start doing clapping press ups or rocking press ups. You'll find descriptions of these later. Likewise, you might try to progress from decline press ups to handstand push ups with your feet against the wall. Maybe you move from plank to faux planche. Then you perform this next step up until you can do all of these things very easily. And from there, you make the next step up to something even harder. Now you might do planche, you might do regular handstand push-ups, and you might start doing clapping press-ups behind your back. Finally, you can also use body weight training as the perfect tool for improving your overall health. In this case, you can keep your workouts fairly easy. Stick with full body routines, but don't worry so much about the progression. Instead, make it a part of your routine, and at the same time, try to build in some light stretching and perhaps even some quiet meditation. For overall health, what's really important is just that you move and that you actually use your body. Many of us aren't capable of performing a full squat movement with our heels flat on the floor, and this is indicative of severe flexibility issues. Try getting around that problem by performing bodyweight squats and going all the way to the ground. Likewise, try to add in some cardio moves like tuck jumps to get the heart beating. Go at your own pace. At this point, you've learned how many of these moves are affecting your body. So all that's left to do is to find the goals you want to shoot for and to gently introduce the right training into your routine. The title of this video series promises that you can get into great shape with no equipment, and yet we keep mentioning pull-ups and chin-ups. That's because training the biceps with zero equipment is actually quite hard. And the same is also true for the lats and pulling movements in general. A pull-up bar, as we said already, can be bought online for only a few dollars and will fit into your door frame without even needing you to screw it in or to drill any holes. And there really is no reason to not get one of these. And if you can't, then there are a few more options. One is to use the underside of a table or a desk. Simply lie flat under the table, hook your hands under one edge, and then perform half pull-ups with your legs on the ground. Or you can even lift the legs up and do pull-ups while in a sitting type of position. Another option is to head outside and grab a tree branch. Or if you're the very dedicated kind, then you can grab onto the door frame with your fingertips. It hurts, but it works. Option number 3 is to take a towel, trap it in a door by closing it on it, and then lean backwards holding the towel to pull yourself up that way. There are tons of options, in other words, and I really do believe that you should be able to find something that works. But if you really do want to use only your own body, there are still a couple of exercises you can use. And the first one is elbow curls. Now, elbow curls, this is a strange looking move, but it's the closest thing we have to pull-ups without the pull-up bar. Basically, you're going to lie on one side with your legs bent and knees pointing in front of you. You'll also keep one arm trapped under those legs and under your body. Now, using that arm, clutch onto your legs with your hand and then pull your body towards your legs. As you do, hinge at the elbow and raise your body off the ground. Then there's the curl grip press. Now you'll be in press up position, but with your arms very wide apart, wider than your shoulders, and with your fingers pointing outwards. Lower your body down slowly, and as you do, you should feel the biceps contract through the negative portion of the movement. Then there's sitting knee curls. Sit on a sofa or a chair and tuck your hands under your knees. Now you're going to curl the knees upwards towards your body and you're going to use your biceps to do it. And finally, there's the ankle curl. Similarly, sit on the sofa or chair and then lift one leg up with your foot pointing at the wall on your left or right side. Take the opposite arm and grab the ankle and then curl your own foot upwards towards you in a concentration curl type position. As you do this, push down against your hand with your foot and fight yourself with it. There are 2 more methods you can use to train your biceps with your body alone. One option is to use something called dynamic tension. This is the training method that was introduced by Charles Atlas, and it's very simple. You just tense the biceps as hard as you can and then move through the bicep curl motion. This way, you're still contracting the muscle, you're still going through the full range of motion, and you're still building the mind-muscle connection through the neuromuscular junction. In other words, it's similar to really performing a bicep curl as far as your body is concerned. Just be aware that this method won't be enough to create many micro tears, and as such, it's not as good as using actual resistance. Another option, though, is dynamic self-resistance. Here, you're going to curl one arm while simultaneously using your other arm to force it down. Perform a hammer curl motion in front of your own body and just push down on your fist or forearm using the other hand. You can set the resistance yourself, and this even allows you to perform a kind of drop set. All right, now you know what needs to be done, and we've gotten the awkward subject of biceps out the way. It's time to look at some of the actual moves that you can use. Of course, there are many more bodyweight exercises, and there's nothing to stop you creating your own bodyweight moves either. Just use this as a starting point. Okay, let's look at push up, dip, and handstand variations. Let's start with press ups or push ups. You know this one. Lie flat on the ground, hands shoulder width apart, and push your upper body upright. Then there's the clapping push up, and this is our first variation. Just perform push ups but clap in the air once. You can also perform double claps or claps behind the back. Then there's the Maltese push up. And we touched on this already. This is a push up with your hands slightly further down your body and facing outwards. Uneven push ups, well, this is push ups with one hand on a medicine ball or another raised platform. Then there are wall press ups. And these are for those who can't do press ups. Just simply lean against a wall and push yourself away. Knee press ups, these are press ups on your knees. One-handed press-ups, like they sound, you can also do them Rocky style and switch from one hand to the next in mid-air. Then there's incline press-ups, hands on something higher, like a sofa. And this makes it a little easier and it's useful for drop sets. Then there's decline press-ups. It moves the pressure to the shoulders slightly more and to the upper pecs. There's rocking press-ups, push down more on one side and then more on the other. There's diamond press-ups, have your fingers form a diamond shape in the middle of your chest on the ground, and this is a good way to focus more on the triceps. There's wide grip and narrow grip, and this moves the focus to the outer pecs and the triceps, respectively. Then there's extended range of motion press-ups, and when you do these, you put both hands on something a little raised from the ground so that you can do press-ups further down than you normally would. There's dips, and dips can be performed on any two surfaces of the same height just opposite each other. There's tricep dips, and this is a dip but with your hands behind you on a sofa or another raised platform and feet touching the ground stretched out in front. There's the pike push-up, push up with your body pointing down towards the ground, and this works the shoulders more once again. And there's handstand push-ups, and this is with or without support. Then there's sit-up and lower back variations. And the first one is sit-ups, and you know this one. Probably remember it from school. Lie flat, then sit yourself up. Make sure to roll your stomach, not fold at the hips. And the latter will only work on your hip extensors, not your abs. There's Supermans. Lie on the floor with your arms outstretched and then raise both your hands and feet off the ground. Hold for a second, lower, then repeat. Salute to the sun. Now that's the same movement but without lifting the legs. There's the power bridge. With this, you lie flat on the ground with your feet on the floor and then you raise your body up, propping your upper body up on your shoulders. Then there's crunches, and this is even more of a rolling motion. Your abs should crunch before you make it all the way up. Then there's twisting sit-ups. Now, sit up and touch one elbow to the opposite knee, hands behind your head, and then repeat on the other side. Note that your hands should never pull your body up. They're just there to prevent you from cheating. Twisting like this will help you to involve the obliques, which are the muscles on either side of your abs. And there's leg raises. You lie flat on the ground and raise your legs slightly to train the lower abs. Hanging leg raises, well, in those you hang from a pull-up bar and then you raise your legs straight up in front of you. And this is similar to the captain's chair. Then there are frog kicks. And with these, you hang from the pull-up bar and then just bring your knees up to your stomach. And this is an easier version of hanging leg raises, and it's ideal for mechanical drop sets targeting the abs. There's V sit-ups. With those, you lie on the ground and then raise your upper body with hands outstretched to touch your toes with legs outstretched. And there's V sits. Rest on your hands and hold your legs directly up in front of you. There's the bicycle crunch. Now, this is like twisting sit ups, except you also cycle your feet as you touch your knees to your hand. The upper body stays raised and never touches the ground. Now, let's look at some pull up variations. First of all, there's pull ups. Grab the bar with an overhand grip and pull yourself up. Your arms should be fairly wide apart. And there's chin ups, the same, but with an overhand grip, and this targets the biceps more. Then there's around the worlds, and use an overhand grip and move your body in a circular motion in front of the bar. There's front lever, and this is an advanced move. You hold the bar and then raise your legs straight so that your body will become parallel with the ground. Reverse push-ups, and here the bar is attached closer to the ground so your legs can be outstretched and touching the floor. Take some of the weight on your heels, but pull your upper body up towards the bar. It's a bit like an upside down pull-up. Then there's kipping pull-ups, and this is from CrossFit, and it involves swinging your legs slightly to build momentum to get you over the bar. And it allows you to perform pull-ups in a more cardio-like manner. Then there are assisted pull-ups, and use anything to assist you while performing pull-ups. At the start of this series, we suggested using a chair. There's one-handed pull-ups, and you can also use rocking pull-ups to build up to this. Muscle-ups. If you have a bar with nothing above it, then you can perform a pull-up and go past the bar and then push yourself up with your pecs and shoulders. There's neutral grip pull-ups, and these are pull-ups where you hold on to two parallel bars with palms facing inwards towards each other. And there are towel pull-ups, and these are pull-ups holding onto two ends of a towel draped over something, and it's great for building grip strength. Finally, there are lower body variations. And the first one is the body weight squat, and this is a simple squat using only body weight. Then there's the pistol squat, and this is a one-leg squat performed with your heel on the ground and all the way to the floor. And you can do a simpler one-legged squat to build up to this. And you don't need to be doing this on a bar like this guy here. You can actually do this on the floor. Then there's the sissy squat, and this is a squat where you're on tiptoe and you lean back while bending your legs. There's the side squat, so step out to one side and plunge deep into the movement. There's the lunge. Step forward and lunge deep on one leg with the other behind you. Jumping lunges, lunge, jump, and land in the reverse lunge. And tuck jumps, jump and tuck your knees up to your chest in mid-air. Then there's jack in the box, and with a jack in the box you squat all the way down from a ball shape and then jump up into a starfish shape. And star jumps are an easier version of this. There's squat jumps, and this is a bodyweight squat with a jump on the end. Calf raises, stand on a step or somewhere else so that your heels are hanging over the edge, and raise yourself up with just your calves. And finally, there's one-legged calf rises. And this is the same thing but with just one foot, and you may need to use a free hand to support yourself. Want to take your training further? There is some cool equipment out there that you can use to make your bodyweight workouts more intense. One great example is to get gymnastic rings. Now, these can hang from any pull-up bar and will let you perform ring dips and even the iron cross from home. Push-up stands are also great for doing press-ups through a longer range of motion. But really, why not get a bit more creative? We've already seen that 2 chairs can make a dipping station. 3 can be used to do some really deep push-ups. Likewise, you can do pull-ups and muscle-ups from tree branches, or you can hang onto a rope and tie it round a tree. Or how about taking cans of Coke and using them as push-up stands? Get inventive. It's part of the fun of bodyweight training. Hopefully, at this point, you've seen just how powerful bodyweight training can be. This is a way to work out that requires no equipment, that's incredibly fun, and that you can do anywhere. It can be used to burn fat, build lots of muscle, and increase your overall health. And there's no reason why it can't be just as effective in building size, strength, and mass as any training program in the gym. The key is to just understand how it's working and why it's working. Using drop sets, supersets, burns, and cheats, you can get just as much pump during a workout and trigger some real growth. But of course, you need to eat plenty of protein to put that into action. We've also seen how body weight training can be used to create highly intensive cardio routines and HIIT programs that will burn maximum fat and that will help you burn more calories for days afterwards. Start experimenting with these techniques and see just how much you can get out of your own body weight programs. And if you're not sure where to begin, well, just start doing SSE in the morning. Those 10 minutes will help you to build some initial energy, to improve your health, and to add muscle. From there, you'll have a base on top of which you can begin really transforming your body with a more intensive regime. But body weight training might well be the one thing that you need to start making some major changes in your life. Not to say that you necessarily need to be making changes. But if you're looking for a way to build more muscle, to lose fat, to feel healthier and better about yourself, and to be pumped full of energy, body weight training can do all that. And this is true even if you've failed to get into shape with other training programs in the past. In fact, body weight training is the perfect antidote for anyone who has struggled with regular workouts. Whether you tried running, lifting weights, or anything else, body weight training presents an answer that is easier, faster, and more effective, and that's more likely to help you get the results that you're looking for. Even if you have been successful with other programs in the past, body weight training can be the perfect addition to your routine and can help you to get even better benefits even more quickly. And it's a different kind of fitness and strength that you'll enjoy too. You'll be strong, but you'll also be perfectly proportioned, more full of energy, and even more agile. Bodyweight training gives you power like a coiled spring. At this point, the first question you might be asking is, why bodyweight training? What's so different about working out with your own body? Why do people succeed with this type of exercise when all else has failed? Let's take a look at some pretty convincing reasons that bodyweight training is what you need. Number 1. The practical benefits. For starters, bodyweight training has a ton of practical benefits that a lot of other types of exercise just can't deliver. Bodyweight training doesn't require any equipment or tools. As we'll see later on, there are some items that can help you to get more from your training, and a pull-up bar in particular is highly advisable. Nevertheless, though, this still isn't a requirement by any stretch, and you can get away without one. Even if you do go for a pull-up bar, this is something that can fit onto your door frame and that won't set you back more than a few dollars at a push. This right away is something that gives bodyweight training a big advantage. This means that you don't have to spend cash to get started with it, and it means that you can do it anywhere. A lot of people like to use bodyweight training when visiting hotels and other places they can stay, and you can even do this kind of training when you're camping. But this also makes it much easier to get started in your own home. The fact of the matter is that many of us can't afford to invest in expensive gym equipment like bench presses or squat racks, and most of us don't have the room anyway. Then there's the fact that having lots of equipment means it's actually quite a lot of work in order to start training. If you're going to be using dumbbells, barbells, a bench, a kettlebell, this means that you're going to have to get all of that equipment out and set it up to use. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but if you live in a small space, it can involve quite a lot of work and it can add 10 minutes to your training. Bearing in mind that you need to pack it all away again, this can be the difference between a quick, spontaneous workout or not having the time to train at all. With bodyweight training, there's nothing stopping you from getting a quick 5-minute workout even when you're waiting at the bus stop. And as we'll see, this is really a great way to train, as it means you're no longer spending most of your day sedentary and then going all out for just 1 hour. Using bodyweight training, we can be much more tactical and versatile in the way that we train and when we train. Number two is the physical benefits. Now, another thing to consider is the way that bodyweight training can impact on your body. Of course, any type of exercise should help you to get fitter, stronger, and leaner. That's rather the point. But what bodyweight does better than any other type of exercise is to help you build a powerful strength to weight ratio. This basically means that you can become very strong without gaining a lot of extra weight. At the same time, bodyweight training is very active. The very nature of it means that you're using your whole body when you do that kind of training, and that means that your heart rate goes up, you burn more fat, and you improve your energy levels. When you work out at the gym, a lot of the exercise you'll do actually involves lying down. You'll lie down when you perform the bench press, for instance, and you'll sit down while doing bicep curls a lot of the time. This will get your heart rate up to around 80, maybe. But press-ups are far more active and can get it up to 110 and above. Better yet, bodyweight training teaches you how to use your whole body to become more agile and quick. Bodyweight training often includes elements of balance, of flexibility, and of explosive power, and all these things contribute to improved health and performance across the board. If you want to be fast, lean, light, and powerful, then nothing quite beats bodyweight training. And number three, it's fun. Believe it or not, bodyweight training can be a lot of fun. We've already seen that it's much easier, more practical, and more active than weights training. But at the same time, you'll find that bodyweight training helps you to learn cool party tricks, skills, and abilities that make it so much more worthwhile. If you get really good, for instance, then you can start to pull off feats of strength like one-armed pull-ups, clapping press-ups, and even handstand press-ups. And this is incredibly rewarding and gives you an awesome sense of progression. Bodyweight training is also a lot more versatile than other types of training, and it lets you work out in different ways that almost feel like games. You can do bodyweight training outdoors, or you can do it using some kind of ball or other tool to turn it into a sport. As you can see then, bodyweight training has a ton of advantages. It's easy, fun, practical, quick, versatile, and it's very effective and good for you. There's a problem though, and that's a lot of people just don't know how to make bodyweight training work for them. More specifically, a lot of people think that bodyweight training can't offer them enough of a challenge to stimulate real muscle gains or real fat loss. The assumption is that bodyweight training is a kind of easy version of going to the gym, and that the results are going to reflect that. Now, this is far from reality though. As you'll see, bodyweight training can be just as effective for building big, powerful muscles, and it can be very useful for burning off lots of fat. In fact, some of the best celebrity physiques out there are a direct result of bodyweight training alone. You just need to know how to use it properly. This video series is going to teach you everything you need to know about burning fat and building muscle. You'll learn the science behind hypertrophy, and you'll learn exactly how you can apply it using your body weight, the same as you would apply it using weights. You'll learn how to train to trigger growth or to burn the most fat, and you'll know the science behind it. What's more is that you'll learn a ton of exciting exercises, and you'll know exactly how to put them together into a training program. Before we get into all that, we're going to start with a very quick, simple workout that you can do at home. This workout is going to be designed to help you to build muscle quickly and to get into lean shape. If you only watch this one video, you'll find that you have the secret to being in the best shape of your life. Curious? Then keep watching.